Hi, I'm Katie. I work with Free Farm Syndicate and I work with the Blazing Star Seed Cooperative. And we're at a free farm lot right now. We call this lot Myrtle. And today we're going to talk about San Marzano Tomato, the seed of the year, and how to plant it, how to trellis it, keep it standing upright throughout your summer season as you're growing it. These are a couple ways that you can trellis your San Marzano tomatoes. It is kind of endless possibilities though. You can use multiple different types of materials to help hold up your tomatoes. These are kind of spaced out just where I want to plant them essentially. You can plant your tomatoes in a straight line down a garden bed. If you're planting multiple, a straight line or kind of like a zigzag to get a little bit more spacing and closer together. But we're gonna stick with kind of like a straight line. So yeah, just kind of assess the growing area that you have and then consider that tomatoes can get pretty big and take up a lot of space. And think about that when you're setting it either in like a landscape bed around your house or a raised garden bed. We grow in ground here at Myrtle, so this is kind of the space that we normally work with and how we would typically plant our tomatoes for free farm. So these are about like 24 inches, 2 feet apart kind of spacing, and I just use my fingers as like reference points. Nothing super involving numbers. But yeah, so we can take our tomatoes out from our little transplant cells and you give them like a little bit of a wiggle jiggle and then they should pop right out. And this, like, it's always fun to look at the root development of your tomato plant or anything that you're planting. It's just a great sign when you kind of see that connectivity that it's a happy plant, and it will do well to kind of like make soil contact and start its growing process. So I've also kind of given it a little head scratch at the bottom to break up its roots and kind of like wake it up, let it know it's going in the ground. And when you dig your hole, you can use your hands, or depending on kind of what soil you're working with, you can dig a hole with a trowel or a soil knife. And for planting tomatoes, it's kind of nice in the way that all the little hairs on a tomato stem that you can see and kind of like feel will turn into roots too. So if you plant a tomato, you know, so far deep, kind of like up to its leaflets here, where these are sticking out, your plant will be just fine. You're not really like risking anything like detrimental or like bad for the plant. And so it can go down in the ground, and then soil can kind of come up and around it. And before you leave your planting, you're obviously going to want to make sure that you get some water on it, give it some juice, and to carry it through until rain comes or you water it again. So we'll do this one over here. Same thing, pretty deep hole. You're kind of like basing it off of the size of your hole, about like how big your tomato cell pot is, and great root structure. And dig it like that in there. Soil comes around just like that. You can use essentially anything that has height to it. These tomatoes can get pretty tall and wild, so the trellis is a great way to kind of support them and keep them from flopping over. And this can definitely be an experiment as well, but if you kind of bring your twine, your rope, whatever material you're using, down near the base of your plant, it kind of meets it where some of its first leaves are at, and then you can use the T-post as kind of like that pressure point. Tie that off in any way that you want. You can create kind of this like ring around the tomato stem as it grows up. You can intertwine around the tomato and kind of do a little bit of a weave if you want added support in that way. There are so many ways to hold a tomato up. I could keep going. But we'll move on down the row and show you one more that's kind of like low maintenance and less pieces to consider. So this is our second method that we'll show you. It's called a tomato cage. I'm pretty sure they all look like this, but if you want to like get into metal, you could like consider a cattle panel, growing up along cattle panel, and letting the tomato kind of grow up next to a metal structure like that, and then you tie the tomato onto that structure. This hopefully will be really easy in that like you're not gonna need to tie anything anywhere, but still like plant your tomato as we did earlier, wherever you want it to be, and then situate your tomato cage around this tomato. You don't want it to be like too close with puncturing the tomato roots, but spread out these legs a little bit, and then push down kind of on all sides all at once. Depending on where you're growing, this could also be kind of hard if there's a lot of like rock, but feels good. And this can kind of be left and let kind of the tomato do its thing, and it'll sprawl out into this and be held up. So it's pretty straightforward, and it's a nice method to use in ground, or if you're growing in a pot, you could stick this in a pot as well. So yeah, this is a San Marzano tomato just like leading the world and getting comfy in its home, long-term home for a while. And if you come across anything that you discover when you're growing out your San Marzano this summer, let us know. We'd love to hear if you discovered a new way to trellis, or something fun that you did to help support your San Marzano tomato.